To Dr. Kinzer and Mr. O'Neill, I want to focus on the information that we do have and things of that nature. Do we know of, can you name the locations, say the prisons, the hospitals, other institutions, and the cutouts as you described, either one of you folks described them, that would be familiar to us or the American people? Can you name these?
Yeah, if I could begin just by saying, at the end of the 1977 hearings, Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Daniel Inouye, who were the co-chairs, demanded that there be an investigation to find out who were the perpetrators, where were the experiments conducted, and most importantly, to find, locate victims, compensate them, notify them, because many didn't even know they'd been experimented on, and give them lifetime medical care. President Jimmy Carter and Attorney General Griffin Bell said the federal government will begin an investigation. That never happened. Instead, the CIA created something called the Victims Task Force to investigate itself. It was a two-man investigation to locate victims, and they only looked for people who had been experimented on in the safe houses. They completely, because I interviewed both of them before they passed away, they completely avoided institutional experimental programs at the hospitals. And you're asking about the hospitals, the Oklahoma City Hospital, Lackland Air Force Base Hospital, the Lexington Addiction Center, which Dr. Kinzer referred to, the Holmesburg Prison, Vacaville Prison, universities all over the country, Yale, Ivy League universities. None of those records there was a criminal investigation was also supposed to start into Gottlieb's destruction of the records. That had been announced by the Justice Department. And I interviewed Griffin Bell and asked him what happened to all those investigations and what happened to all those efforts to locate victims. He said it just must have fallen through the cracks.
So it was the DOJ that was supposed to investigate?
DOJ, the Department of Justice, and they just kept passing it off and passing it off.
Do you know if the DOJ and their investigation visited the places that you've named?
No, absolutely not.
Wait, hold on a second. They didn't, or you don't know?
Oh, no. I asked the two men who did the investigation, and they said all we did was look into what happened at the safe houses in San Francisco and New York City in 1962.
So is it possible that information and documentation remains at the prisons, the treatment centers, the universities where these things were conducted? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I found Dr. West's records at UCLA in his file. Hospital records are really hard to get because of HIPAA laws, and prison records, the Bureau of Prisons do have a lot. So yeah, it is possible there's still documents buried places.
What were the average ages, if you know, of the people that were experimented on? Were these children? Were these middle-aged? Were they?
Well, there were adolescent studies done in juvenile detention facilities and jails with kids who were 16, 17, 18 years old, and at institutional schools for wayward kids. The National Training School for Boys here in Washington, D.C. had them. So it ranged from, I think, adolescent, pre-adolescent, through any age.
If you could describe, either one of you, the number of potential victims, if you could hazard a guess.
There were 149 programs that we know of that were subcontracted outside of
149 separate programs.
So yeah, outside, and that's what we know of. Again, everything we know of is minuscule compared to what was really going on. So I mean, that could have been into the tens of thousands, and I believe that's another reason that nothing was pursued, because if those people were compensated, it could have bankrupted.
Has there been any recent attempt to find, locate, identify victims of this?
Not that I know of.
I would just add that there's been considerable progress in this regard in Canada. There was MKUltra research going on at a psychiatric hospital in Canada, and the Canadian government has made a real effort to try to find out who the victims were, and also to compensate them and to provide them with medical treatment. So if we're looking for an example of a place where it was done better, even though it was on a much smaller scale, Canada would be a place to look.
So other than embarrassment to the federal government, maybe agencies involved, and particular individuals who are probably likely deceased at this point, what is the reason for the mass redaction of the information that we do have? Has any reasoning been given?
Shame?
I'm sorry?
Shame?
That's what I'm saying, other than embarrassment, but I think it stands to reason that probably the individuals involved in conducting and authorizing this activity are probably all deceased.
Sure.
At this point. Is there any reason to believe otherwise?
I make those arguments in my FOIA requests, but it doesn't get me anywhere. I don't know about you, Dr. Kinzer.
All right, my time's expired. I'll give.
Thank you, Representative Perry. I'm now going to go to a second line of